welcome to the Yarn Everywhere podcast. This is episode number 44. This is the podcast where I share all things crochet, knitting, and yarn. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Nikki Avery. I am the crocheter, the knitter, the crochet designer, yarn dyer behind Avery Creations and ALC Yarns, and I cannot wait to share with you all the things that I have going on. Let me start out by showing you my projects. First up, we have my favorite project right now. This is a camo hat for my husband. This is a muscle burr hat. I don't know if it's muscle burr or muscle burrow. It's spelled muscle burr, but I hear other people pronouncing it muscle burrow. So depending on my mood is how I say it. But anyways, that's what I am working on. I will have a link to the pattern below. I am just loving this pattern so much that I started another one. Part of the reason I started another one is because I ran out of yarn. So if you watched my podcast last week, I told you about how special this yarn is. This is some yarn that my husband dyed, and I ran out right here. So on Saturday, if you follow me on Facebook, on Saturday I went live on my Facebook page and dyed this yarn live. This time I dyed 8 hanks of the yarn because I know I want to make another hat for me, and then I'm sure some of my yarn club members are going to want to snatch up whatever I have left over. So I'm really tickled at how well it matched, because hand-dyed yarn, if you're familiar with hand-dyed yarn, every hank of yarn is unique. Even if they were dyed in the same dye pan, it's going to look differently. But I was still nervous because my husband dyed this originally. Even though I come up with the colors and I had the recipe, he's the one that actually poured the dye in the spots. And it was a little over a year ago that he dyed this yarn. So I was super nervous about it, but so far I'm pretty tickled with how it's turning out. Yes, it's a little different. You can tell he left a little bit more white in the yarn. I have a thing about leaving white on yarn. It's really, really hard for me, but I love it because I feel like it just gives it an added depth. And it really makes the other colors kind of stand out. Of course, I only have a few rows in, so there may be some white that pops up. The good thing is that I believe it's going to work out to how when he wears the hat, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. I measured last night and I'm a little over halfway done with this. And I'm going to have to start sweet talking my husband now, so he'll hopefully model it for me once it's finished, because I know it's going to be way too big for my head. But if he doesn't do it, I'm going to do it because I just love this. Camouflage is one of my favorite colors. I am so weird. Gray and camouflage are two of my favorite colors. And of course, pink. All of a sudden, I have this love for blushy pink. It's been going on for a couple of years now, and I've just fully embraced it. Everything's blushy pink for me right now. Okay, enough about this hat. I am going to jump in and share with you my other projects. I finally started the other Avocardio sock. What do I have going on over here? Oh, and I just pulled the stitches out. No. Hold, please. Whew, y'all, my heart stopped. Okay. Normally, I have some kind of stoppers on here, but I was feeling super secure last night, and I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I have it all looped to where I'm not going to do that, and then here I go. Note to self, don't trust yourself in the evenings. I'm going to fix this problem right now. Okay, I'm feeling better about life now. I'm going to have to buy more of these. I showed these in my last podcast. I have these on every single one of my project. Well, these make me feel so much more secure because I don't have to worry about pulling the needles out of my work like you just saw. Okay, so here is the Avocardio sock, and I just started the heel flap. So I like making shorty socks. I do 10 rows of the cuff, and then I do 5 rows of the leg, and then start the heel flap. The heel flap is my favorite part. I know that's so weird, but I love the slip stitches. They're so fun for me. yesterday while I was dyeing yarn, I was dyeing a lot of like tonals. So it basically, you throw it in a pot, you let it set, and you check it every once in a while. So while all of that was setting, I was sitting on my back porch watching the storm blow in and knitting on a sock. It felt good to be back to knitting socks again, and I'm not gonna lie, it's taking everything I have not to cast on another one, because I have some yarn picked out for another sock set, but I'm really trying to focus on the projects that I have now. And once I finish one of those, then I'm going to let myself start another project, because otherwise I have so many projects going on at one time and then I don't get anything done. So I think right now I'm limiting it to 4 projects. That's this week. Who knows what is going to happen next week? I may find a pattern that I just absolutely have to start. So we'll see. But this week I'm trying to behave myself. And a lot of the reason for that is because this is like the busiest week of the month for me. I'm getting ready to ship out my Yarn Club boxes. I usually ship around the 25th of the month. So it's like crunch time. It's like all those little things that need to be done. It's now the time to get all of those done. So I really haven't had a lot of time to sit and crochet or sit and knit. So that's another reason why I'm trying to minimize my projects. Next project is another muscle burrow hat. See, muscle burr, muscle burrow, who knows what I'm going to say. This one is for me, if you can't tell with the color. I love this color. This is candy painted, and it was from, I believe it was August, this past August Yarn Club, and the theme was, what was the theme? Chasing sunsets. I think every year for the Yarn Club, I'm going to have some kind of sunset theme, just because I love sunset inspirations. Anytime I go out of town, like, I'm going to watch the sunset. I love seeing sunset in different places. And even in my backyard, sometimes I'm too busy and I just forget to even look. But when I catch myself, I'm like, oh, wow, what a pretty sunset. So it's my thing. And this is candy painted, inspired by candy painted sunsets. This one was a bit of a challenge because I wasn't trusting myself. I thought I made a mistake, so I just ripped it up and started again. And really, I wasn't very far in at all. But I was just getting myself confused and looking at the wrong part of the pattern. So I ripped it up 2 times. And then I realized the third time that, oh, I was actually right. I thought my stitch count was off, and I thought like I had skipped a row or something, and I didn't. So I wasn't trusting myself. Then I got, oh goodness, a little bit further than this. And what I was doing, I was trying to be all fancy and change out every 2 rows. I have 2 balls of this yarn. So every 2 rows, I was switching it. Because with hand-dyed yarn, there's going to be some variations there. And I wanted to just kind of fade that in with this hat. Well, it wasn't as fun for me. Having to remember to change the yarn out every 2 rows, it just felt tedious. And with the camo hat, I think that's one of the things that I loved about it, is once you get past the increases, it's just stockinette for ever and ever and ever until you get to the other end and then you do your decreases. So I decided to frog it and start over again. But I'm happy with it now. Even if there is a big difference in the color, I feel like you're not really going to notice it, because it's going to be, one of these ends is going to be inside the other one. And the only part that you would really notice it would be the brim. So I think I'm okay with it. I'm going to use these 2 hats kind of as a trial run to see if going forward I would want to switch every 2 rows. Honestly, I don't think I will, because I like the not having to think. I like just having to knit and not have to think about and remember anything. So that's my progress on that, and I just love this color. Last whip, y'all, I still do not have a crochet project. I haven't figured out what I want to crochet. I do know I want to start some kind of scrappy project with my scrap worsted weight yarn, because I have a ton of it, and I'll be talking about that later on. I've been slowly cleaning that out and finding things and trying to get that organized. So I know that is an upcoming crochet project. I did do a gauge swatch today. So I did break out my crochet hook today and did a gauge swatch for one of my older patterns. I think it was like I think it was my third pattern I ever designed, maybe fourth, but it was one of my earlier designs. And I really want to go back and revisit that. As I was looking at the pattern, getting it ready to go back through testing, I realized there is no gauge in there. And even though I personally very rarely gauge swatch, I want the option in my patterns for the crocheters that want to gauge swatch. I was a mature adult and did a gauge swatch this morning, and then now I need to do another little swatch because I think I'm going to change some of the pattern. I did some weird things with that pattern because I was really new to designing, and honestly, I was pretty new to crocheting, and I just didn't know that there was another way. So I'm going to change it up a little bit, and I figured I need to change it up now before I put it into testing and confuse my pattern testers, because I greatly appreciate pattern testers and I want to try to make it as easy as possible for them. So that's my little crochet thing that's going on right now. Okay, back to projects. This is my Worth wrap, and I told y'all about it last week. It's in timeout because I made another error and I did not want to frog it. Okay, but I've decided, since it's had time to think about its ways, I've decided that I am going to frog it, and I'm going to go up a needle size because one of the reasons why I love DK and Sockway yarn is the drape. And I feel like this is just too tight for a wrap, and it's not going to have the drape that I want for a wrap. So while it's right here and it's in timeout, I'm just going to go ahead and frog it and start over with a bigger needle size and hopefully not make any errors. We'll see. I do know that I'm coming at this with the same mindset I had when I did socks, that no matter how many times I have to start over, I'm going to stick with it because it's going to be worth it in the end. This is a little bit more of a challenging project for me than I thought it was going to be. It really is a simple pattern. It's just a me thing. My attention span is not good. So switching the yarn every other stitch and keeping up with what row I'm on, it's going to have to be a project when I'm not super tired. But I'm going to stick with it because it's going to be worth it in the end and it's going to be gorgeous. I just need to have some patience. This is my challenging project for sure. Well, that is all of my projects right now. At least all the ones that I'm claiming. There may be some more somewhere that I forgot about, but that's what I'm claiming right now. So let's jump into what I have finished. I haven't finished much. It looks like I finished more than I have. I finished the Yarnicorn socks. Aren't they pretty? And I weaved in the ends. Do you believe me? You're going to have to believe me because I'm not taking them off of this. But I did. I weaved in the ends. I think they are so pretty. Plus, I have scraps left from this that I think, I'm going to have to weigh it, but I think I can make another pair of shorty socks with it. I also have some of the mini pink left and an aqua, because my plan for these socks when I started was to put aqua here, a pretty little papa aqua for the heel, and then have the pink toes. Well, I got to going, and when I started the heel, I didn't even think about changing colors, and I didn't think about it until I was almost done with the sock. So I was like, well, that didn't work, and I was not frogging it back. So I feel like I have enough yarn to do some shorty socks with this color, and I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to do. Part of me wanted to put it in my scrap basket for another juniper cowl, but I love these socks so much, I really think I want to make some shorty socks. So these are my Yarnicorn socks, and the pattern, I call it Yarnicorn because it's the name of the colorway that I use, but the pattern is Vanilla Socks on Magic Loop by the Crazy Sock Lady. She has an amazing video tutorial on YouTube, and that is how I learned to knit socks. That's the pattern that I'm just stuck on right now. I do eventually want to branch out and try some pattern socks, but one of the reasons why I love knitting socks is because it's mindless. I pretty much have the pattern memorized now, and I can just sit and knit and not have to look at a pattern. But I also like the challenge of trying something new. So we'll see. I'm sure I'm going to have some pattern socks soon once I get these out of my system. The bad thing about not having any crochet whips and limiting myself to the amount of whips I have is I don't have any finished projects. So that was the only thing that I have finished, and those have been on my needles for a long time. So I'm going to jump into ends check. This is something new to the podcast, but if you watched a few podcasts ago, you saw the hot mess that I had on my hands as far as 2 totes that I had that were just full of scrap yarn projects, finished projects that just needed the ends weaved in on, unfinished projects, just, it was a mess. And I went through that, I think it was podcast episode 41 or 42. I went through that on the podcast, which was super fun for me. And it's also given me like a little bit of accountability. And that means every week I am trying to go through that stack and at least pick 1 or 2 projects and weave the ends in on them. Or if I'm not loving that project or I don't want to finish it, or even if it is finished and I'm like, I'm not crazy about this, I want to reuse the yarn, I'm frogging it and reusing the yarn. Knowing that I'm going to like talk about this on the podcast has really helped me get my bootay in gear and get some stuff done. So, ends check. I weaved in the ends on this twisted ear warmer. This is one of the things that made me fall in love with knitting. A couple years ago, I bought an Addie King knitting machine because I wanted some knit items, but I really didn't have the time to learn to knit. And it just made me want to learn to knit even more. And I have a video tutorial on my YouTube channel on how to make these if you have a circular knitting machine. So even though it looks like, I'm all fancy and I hand knit this, I did not. I did it on my circular knitting machine before I knew how to knit. So I thought I was just pretty awesome. And I think it is pretty awesome. Look how pretty that is. And I weaved in the ends. I think the reason why I didn't weave in the ends is because I love this yarn so much that I was like, I have so many ear warmers. I could frog it and make something else with it, but it's so pretty. I just couldn't do it. So I finally just made up my mind, weaved in the ends, and here we are. The other ends check was not in the bins of chaos, but it was some socks that I had finished with my retro tie-dye yarn. Y'all, this yarn, these socks, amazing. I will be dyeing more of this colorway. I just have not had a chance. I just haven't been able to. I have another list of things that I need to dye before this, but it's getting closer and closer. I feel like this will be a good close to summertime colorway anyways. So hopefully I will have sock sets with this color coming soon because I really want to make some more socks with this and help me decide what 2 tonal colors would look good with this. It's really, part of me wants to do the green because I think that a pop of green would be really pretty. And of course, pink. But let me know, what color would you pair with this? Because I am going to have some sock sets. Ends check. I did weave in the ends. They're in there. I've gotten so good at hiding ends, y'all, that I have to check. Like, I have to literally stick my hand in there and check and see if, or even just turn it inside out and check and see if there's ends. It's bad. It's terrible. But aren't they pretty? They are so fun. Last one is the birthday party socks. I had these in my crochet cart and the ends were not weaved in. So the other night when I was weaving in ends on the Yarnicorn socks, I remembered I had these other 2 pairs of socks and I'm like, you know what? Let me just do it. Part of the reason why I wasn't weaving in the ends on these socks, I don't know why. I feel like I just need to explain myself. Sometimes there's like a reason to my madness, okay? Hear me out. Part of the reason why I wasn't weaving these ends in is because I had to watch Crazy Sock Lady's video tutorial every time I went to weave in the ends because for some reason weaving in ends on knit projects, it just was clicking off for me. And there's this little spot where the heel is that has a hole in it. So I was having to watch her video and how she did it every single time I finished socks. And it was annoying because I didn't want to have to watch a video, but I didn't trust myself to remember. So I would just pile them up, watch the video, and then do it. But this time I did not watch the video. So I think I've got it. I think I've gotten the hang of it now. I shouldn't have any excuses going forward. I'll think of something. So here are the birthday party socks. These were my very first socks to make with sock weight yarn. And now sock weight yarn is my favorite yarn to make socks with. I feel good about having that done. I know some of y'all are just like, you are a mess. And yes, I am a mess. But I rewarded myself last night with 3 pieces of Dove chocolate because I was a good girl and I weaved the ends in on 3 things. So as long as I have chocolate in the house and I can reward myself, I feel like I'm going to get a lot more done. We'll see. Other half of the ends check is I frogged some projects that I didn't want to weave the ends in. I wanted to reuse the yarn. When I was washing yarn the other day, I just gave them a good wash and I have them hanging to dry. So this was a hat that I made. I can't even remember which hat it was. I know it was a design of mine and I loved this color. I think it may look blue on the screen, but it's actually like a really bright purple. It's that purple that plays tricks with your brain, that sometimes it's blue and sometimes it's purple. So it's blurple. So I am going to be reusing this. I have no idea for what. It could just go in my scrap pile for whatever scrappy project I decide, but just going to let it hang out and dry while I decide. Another one is this beautiful yarn from Faith Hill Yarns. Pretty sure that's who that is. And I think the colorway was like Christmas tree lights. And I was going to do a berry scarf with it. And I loved it, but it was one of those projects that was going to take forever. So I think I have the other part of this somewhere in my scrap pile, and I think I'm going to make socks with it. So that's my idea for that. This is almost an entire hank of worsted weight yarn that I made a Brecken triangle cowl with, and I really like this colorway, and I have so many cowls that I decided I'm going to use it for something else, and I don't know what yet. I don't think this is going to go in my scrap pile. I think this is going to go in, I'm going to use this for a very specific project that I have no idea what it's going to be. But this was also a Yarn Club colorway, and I can't remember which one it was from, but it's from a while back. Lastly, this is my Mermaid Vibes colorway. Again, another one of like my all-time favorite colorways. And this was just a project that I was working on when I was learning to knit. And I was going to make a cowl with it, and the sizing just did not work out. So I frogged it, and here we are. This one's hanging up to dry too. Honestly, have no idea. I know it's not a full skein of yarn, so this may go in my scrappy blanket too. I want to show you this Swift that I use for frogging projects, especially big projects that I don't want to do it by hand. The super cheap Swift that I got on Amazon, I want to say it was like $15 or less. I do not like it for caking yarn. It is not my friend. But the really cool thing about it is it has this handle at the top. All I have to do is set it up, and I tie the yarn. I have it zip tied because this thing is so cheap. Like, it just falls to pieces when you undo it. We'll let it out just a little bit. We'll let its crazy show a little bit here. So what I do is I just pull it all the way out, and then I'll just tie a piece of the yarn here. I don't even tie it in a good knot. It stays. I just tie it once. And all I have to do is turn this handle, and it does all the work for me. And all I have to do is get some cheap cotton yarn and make my own little tie-ins here. I usually separate it in like 3 chunks there, and then weave the yarn in and out a few times, and then just tie it in like a double knot. And I do that in a few spots because it keeps all the yarn in one spot, and that way you don't have a big tangled mess on your hands. Then I put it on like a reusable zip tie or shower hook and wash it up. You don't have to wash it. You can just wet it. But I was washing yarn, so I was like, why not give it a good wash? It's been sitting around for a long time, and it'll smell nice and good. And I don't know. I just thought washing it was a good idea. But I have just put it in water before and then hung it up to dry. So that is a good way to recycle yarn, and it keeps that crimping out of it, because whenever you frog a project, you see that it just like kind of crimps up, and it's not fun to try to start another project with that. So this is a nice way to get all the yarn back to its original beautiful form so you can relove it. I really wish I could take an entire day to just do nothing but organize my office, but right now that's just not feasible. So usually I'll take like 15 minutes out of my day and come in here and focus on one thing. And this was one of the things that I did the other day is I went through my scraps and I got all of my tweed that I could find really quickly. This was like a super quick, I'm just like, all the tweed going in a bin. And then that's it. So I found all my tweed yarn and I threw it all in a bin. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my DK weight and do that next. I feel like that's a nice way to break it up because one, I just cannot take the time to dedicate to that right now. And two, it's way less overwhelming. I feel like I'm just taking chunks of it at a time and doing a little bit. And then when I can take the time to just come in here and organize, I will have some of the stuff done. That's really all that I have done as far as ends check and scrap cleanup. But even that little bit just feels huge to me because those have been on my to-do list for like a really long time. And also, like, you don't realize that stuff piled up over in a corner. You don't realize, like, mentally how much that bothers you until you clean it up. And then you're like, oh, wow, this is nice. I need to do this more often. Now, let me show you some new things that I got in this week. I saw this gorgeous yarn from Stitching with Yarn, and I had to have it. Look at that. It's called Rockstar. And how perfect is that? I mean, look at these colors. This is I believe it's zebra yarn. This is a zebra yarn base, and it comes where it's already black and white, and it has these little twist of black and white. Or is it gray? I think it's black and white. Pretty sure it's, black and white. And it's gorgeous before you dye it, but then, oh my goodness, look at that perfection. And also, look, she gave me a stitch marker. Y'all, I am a sucker for when I order something and then I get like a little freebie. This just made my day. And it's a music note. I love music. And look at the color. It's like it's a blushy pink. It matches my shirt. When I saw this yarn, I was like, I gotta have it. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make socks with it. I don't know. Pretty sure I'm gonna make socks with it because I think they would make some amazing socks. So go check her out. I will link her Instagram and her Etsy shop below so you can go check her out. Her name is Christy and the name of her business is Stitching with Yarn. And she has some gorgeous colorways. It was really hard to just buy one. But I'm like, I really don't need any more yarn, but I have to have this yarn. So I think this is going to be the next sock project that I cast on. And I'm trying really hard to not cast on right now. We'll see. I'm going to try to finish the Avocardio socks first and then start these. But there's the Nikki factor. You never know what's going to happen. I don't even know what's going to happen. Okay, I got one more new item. And I have been hoarding my fetch rewards to get some Amazon gift cards, and I finally decided what I wanted to get with my Amazon gift card, and I am not disappointed. It is a new hook and needle case. It's a super, super pale blushy pink. Surprise, surprise. I love it because it has this nice little pocket out here. Then when you open it up, let me see if I can do this to where you can see. Look. It has a spot for my furls crochet hooks. I love that it has this little band here to tuck the tops and the bottom in. And it's really hard to find a hook case that fits these furls crochet hooks. These are the Odyssey hooks, the metal hooks. So it's hard to find a case that these will fit in. So I'm really tickled about that. Then the other part, this is what sold me, okay? It has these clear pouches in here because now that I'm knitting, it's really hard to find a case that will hold some of your crochet hooks and some of your knitting needles too. So I'm using these for notions. I've got my little notion tin here and some stitch markers randomly thrown in there and my measuring tape. Cannot have enough of those. Then, in this one, I have some knitting needles and some cables. So that makes me so happy. I haven't figured out what I want to do back here. I think this is going to be another spot for knitting needles because it has these little pockets here that I can just twist them up and stick them in. So I'm pretty sure that's what this back part is going to be, but I just haven't filled it up yet. So this is my new hook case, and I love it so much. I honestly want another one, but I'm like, do I really need another one? No, I really don't need another one. I just need to keep this one organized, and then I won't need another one. I will post an Amazon affiliate link below for this case. I already have it in like my Amazon shop. The sad thing is I looked this morning and they only have black and teal available right now. So they don't have this one. But the teal one's really pretty too, and black is pretty too. But y'all know pink. Pink is my thing. So I will post that link below in case you want to get one. I highly recommend it. It's just those little things that just make you so happy. Plus, it was free because I used my Amazon gift cards from my Fetch rewards. And if you were like, what is Fetch? So a few years ago, a friend of mine told me about an app that you can get on, and you scan your receipts after you're done shopping, and you get a minimum of 25 points per receipt. And I was like, are you serious? That's all you have to do? And then they have like these rewards. I don't really pay attention to it, but like if you buy so many of like General Mills products or something like that, they have like a bonus where you can get like 4,000 points if you buy whatever. My husband buys Gatorade, so every once in a while we'll get like extra points. Like I think the other day I got like 430 points off of a receipt because he bought some Gatorade. So it's different things like that. And then you can cash your rewards in for gift cards. And one of the gift card options is Amazon. So I hoard my points, and then I will buy usually us something from Amazon, but this was a selfish purchase. I will also post a link below for the Fetch rewards. It's like a referral link, and if you click on it and sign up, I think you get like 2,000 bonus points, and I get 2,000 bonus points. So it's a win-win. I just wanted to share that with y'all in case you're like, what is this girl talking about? I love Fetch. I tell everybody about Fetch. And if you're a big shopper, you can rack up on some points really quickly. It takes me a long time to get points. Also, you can link your email address to there, and if you buy anything online, it will process that. You just have to, like, you'll see when you get in the app, you just have to click a button and it'll go through your email and find any receipts in there. And then also it can link to your Amazon. So anytime you buy something on Amazon, it's 25 points. That is all the new items that I have to share. So now I'm going to share yarn news with you and show you some yarn that I have dyed. It feels so good to be able to share some yarn that I have dyed with you, because most of the time I only can dye Yarn Club yarn, and that's always a surprise. So I can't show you until after my Yarn Club members get their yarn. Then after they get their yarn, I've moved on to the next month, and I kind of forget about that month. So I'm so excited to have some yarn that I can show you. If you follow me on Facebook, I think I said earlier, I went live and dyed yarn on Saturday. I miss doing that. It's one of my favorite things ever, to go live and dye yarn and chat with everybody. And sometimes I'll even go live. Well, I used to. I haven't lately. That is on my list of things I want to implement this year and start taking time to do, is go live again. And one of my favorite things is to let y'all decide the colors. That's always super fun because it gets me out of my comfort zone and makes me use colors that I normally don't use, except for brown. Or it makes me combine colors that I normally wouldn't combine. So those are always really fun. Here's some more camo yarn that I dyed. I've had so many people compliment this yarn, so I may take pre-orders for this because I only dyed it on worsted weight, and I had a couple people say they wanted some on sock weight and DK weight. So once it is dry. I forgot. It's dry because I'm already using some. Once I get a chance, I'm going to hank it up and get some pictures, and I may take pre-orders for this. I feel like I don't dye enough yarn that would be good for, like, if you want to make a hat for your husband or if you want to make something for your son. I just don't dye a lot of manly colors. I think this color is perfect for hats for your husband or your son or even yourself. I kind of want to make a matching cowl to the hat that I'm going to make eventually for myself, because camo is one of my favorite colors. Another color that I dyed, this one's still a little damp, but I'm too impatient to let it dry before I show you. This was supposed to be purple, and I don't know if it's me or my eyes, but to me it looks like a pale blue, but it's pretty. And of course I speckled. Look at those speckles. Let me see if I can find a good spot. So I have this one color that I love to speckle with because you get bang for your buck. It's like a pink color. It's like a pale pink color, and it breaks into that orange and yellow and sometimes a blue. I don't know. I don't see it. So I love speckling with it because you just don't know what you're going to get. And I think that is so pretty. I have not come up with a name for this yet, but it's giving me all the spring vibes. Like I'm thinking like spring skies, like the beautiful blue spring skies, and then like the pops of color for flowers that are popping up. So I'm open to suggestions for naming these, and naming stuff is really hard for me. I was telling my husband the other night that I need to come up with a name for this besides camo yarn. I think when he dyed it, I just called it hubby's camo. I like to try to come up with funny names for my yarn when I can. So here it is. Brace yourself. My husband does not think I'm funny. I think it's funny. But here was my idea. Camo see me now. Like, can you see me now? But camo see me now. He didn't think it was funny. And now I think it's funny because he doesn't think it's funny. So I was kind of thinking that. But then I was talking to my friend Danielle and I was telling her, and she's like, I do like that. And I don't know if it's just because she's my friend and she's sweet and she's just going to tell me that. But she also had an idea. My husband's nickname is Beep or Beeper. And she said Beep Woods, like deep woods, but Beep Woods. I was like, okay, she's so good at naming stuff. So let me know what you think. Camo see me now? I think it's funny. Or Beep Woods, or what would you name it? Help me out. Okay, the next one. These are my colors. Look at that. Look. So this is one of my Valentine colorways that I have been dreaming about forever. And yes, just yes. Look at that. So this right here is black speckles. It's going to look so much prettier twisted up. But I'm going to tell you the story behind this. My idea was bright pink, bright red, and then over dye it with black. And I chickened out, kind of. I was like, I think I'm going to speckle black because I would like spots of black, not just over dye it black. Because I really did not want to mess with the bright pink or the bright red. So, you know what? Let me try. While I'm talking, I'm going to twist this up, even though it's still wet. So what I decided to do was speckle black over it. I kind of twist it, not this much, but I lightly twisted it in the pan and then speckled black. And I was going to do that with all of them, and I chickened out. So I did half of the worsted weight with black speckles, half of the DK, and half of the sock. And then I'll tell you about the other one in a minute. So this is what it looks like. Is that not so pretty? But I thought it would be kind of like Valentine's, but not. So my name for this one is Not Today, Cupid. Because it gives all the like Cupid lovey vibes, and then you throw black in there, you're like, not today, Cupid. I don't know. I think I'm funny sometimes. So that was my idea for this one. And I cannot wait for it to dry because I think it's just going to be so gorgeous, all twisted up. So I chickened out and didn't do all the yarn that way. So the other half, I did basically the same thing, except for I speckled with red. I don't know if you, oh, here it is. It's this side. I speckled with red instead of black. So I thought this one could be like a lovey-dovey one, like Cupid or, I don't know, love song, something. I'm really glad that I chickened out though, because I really love this color too. And there's also, it may look black but on the screen, but it's purple. There's also, both of them have like a really dark purple speckles on there. Y'all, I'm proud of myself because I very lightly speckled. I wanted just hints of the color. There you go. You can see it kind of right here. Here is my other one. These are 50-gram minis that I had left over for my advent calendars. And I had one extra pan when I was dyeing yarn. And I'm like, I'm in here dyeing yarn. I might as well do something with this pan. So I threw these in there with some other minis and decided that I'm going to do some type of like little sock set or something with them. Or I might keep them. Not sure yet. But what I did is I speckled heavily. Like I let myself have free reign with speckles. And this is what happens. I like speckles a lot. A lot. Then I was like, I really like that. And it's really pretty. But I feel like it needs something else. So I was like, oh, after I let the speckles set and then flipped it and speckled again, I'm like, you know what? It needs something, but not a lot of something. So I did a really, really pale pink, as you can see. And I just poured it over and let it set. So it just has some pink in spots. And then it has all the speckles. I love it. So that's all the yarn that I have that I can show you right now. And that just made my day to be able to share yarn with y'all because yarn makes me so happy. While I'm sharing yarn, I figured that I would go ahead and share December's Yarn Club with you. If you are a Yarn Club member and for some crazy reason you have not seen your December Yarn Club, this is a spoiler alert. Look away now, pause it, turn it off now if you don't want to spoil the fun. I know I have some Yarn Club members in Australia and in Canada. I think all my Canada gals have received theirs, but if for some reason you haven't received it and you don't want to know what was in it, look away. December's Yarn Club theme was Bougie New Year. And this is a card that comes in each package and it just tells you about what was in there, the theme, all the things. The bad thing about it is a lot of times I order these cards before I dye the yarn and I'm a little bit of a wild card. Like I'll have an idea and then I'll get in the dye room and I'm like, I have a better idea. So things may change a little bit. On the card it says December's colorways are inspired by all the rich and vibrant colors you would find at a New Year's party. The extras add a dash of glitz and glam to the celebration. I'm going to show you what was inside the little goodie bag. First up on the list is a stitch marker tin. And you saw this already in my new hook and needle case. I love these and I love that it has a clear top because I love being able to see what is in my tin and know I have what I need because these are perfect for dropping in a project bag. My leg fell asleep. It's the bad thing about being short. I can't reach the ground and my legs go to sleep. So that's part of the reason why I move all the time. Bear with me. Usually I have a little step stool under my desk that I put my feet on so my legs don't go to sleep. But I needed it to reach something and I have not put it back where it goes. Okay, moving on. So, love these tins. I have a ton of them left over and I want to put them in every project bag. It's great, especially on the go. You can just get everything you need, throw it in a project bag, and you don't have to take a big case with you. The next goodie is these super cute bougie stitch markers from the Hooking Reader. So there were several different ones. This one is a rose gold one. This one's like a really pretty gray. And there's black. And then there was a silver one. So there were several different options that I just picked randomly and put them in there. Let me see if I can hold them all up. These were the 4 different colors. And each member just got one. I just randomly put them in there. The next extra goodie is this chocolate lip balm. And it's from Rock Creek Soaps. And I haven't tried it yet. I love different chapsticks, so I actually need to try this. Something I keep in a lot of my project bags is a tube of chapstick. I don't know why, but I have to have chapstick with me. Let me show you all the goodies together. We had a stitch marker tin, a bougie stitch marker, and chocolate lip balm. And this is what every single member got. Then my premium members get 2 hanks of yarn and they get an extra goodie that is exclusive to them. And they all got a sheet mask. So there was a rose gold, a gold, and a silver. And I just thought this would be something fun just to kind of pamper yourself with. I know every once in a while I get in a mood. I'm like, you know what? I want to put a face mask on. I thought that was just a fun little extra to throw in there. Hopefully it was the perfect self-care item for them to just feel extra pampered. I saved the best for last. I'll know by now. I have to pick favorites. Like I always try to have one favorite out of a group. But I don't think I have a favorite from this month. I'm really leaning towards one of them being my favorite, but I really like them all. So let me just dive in and show you. The first one is I'm So Fancy. Isn't it pretty? This is a really pretty teal with some black that I did at a low concentration, so it was more of like a charcoal gray, and I love it. It is so pretty. So this was I'm So Fancy. I had 3 colorways this month, and I think that's pretty much going to be the norm going forward, is just having 3 colorways. It's just easier for me to just stick with 3, even though most of the time it takes 4 days to dye the yarn. I just pick one of my favorites and just dye that one again. So this was I'm So Fancy, and this is my worsted weight base. Most of my Yarn Club members get worsted weight because most of them are crocheters like me. Even though I'm trying to convert a lot of them to knitters so they can be crocheters and knitters, because I think knitting is so much fun too. I really love teal, so I may be claiming one of those for me. Okay, the next one is Bougie Tell 9, and I kind of stole the name of this from one of the April Yarn Club colorway names. The theme for the April Yarn Club was Girls Night Out. One of the colorway names was Braless by 9. Like, yeah, I don't mind having a girls' night out, but I want to be at home in my comfy clothes without my bra by 9 o'clock. And I just thought it was hilarious. So this one is Bougie Tell 9. So I don't mind going out and hanging out with friends and being bougie, but by 9 o'clock, I want to be at home. So Bougie Tell 9. Purples and teals and blue, they are my jam. Isn't that pretty? So this is Bougie Tell 9, and I love it. Last one. And if you just made me pick a favorite, I would pick this one, I think. Are you ready? This one is Feeling Glammy. I thought it was funny. My husband, again, did not think I was funny. But you know how people are like, oh, I'm feeling clammy? Well, I like feeling glammy. Okay. Hopefully you think I'm funny. Like, just, oh, yes. I have 4 of these left. I have 2 on sock weight, and I'm really leaning towards keeping these 2 for me to make another sassy wrap with. I don't know. Immediately I thought about socks too. And then I have 1 left on DK weight. And then I have 1 left on worsted weight. This is Feeling Glammy, and here it is on all 3 of my bases, my worsted weight, DK weight, and sock weight. Let me just show you all 3 of them side by side, and you tell me if you have a favorite. Okay, so do you have a favorite? This one is Bougie Tell 9. In the middle is I'm So Fancy and Feeling Glammy. It really is hard to pick a favorite. So that wraps up December's Yarn Club. I had so many colorways that I wanted to do, but I just stuck with these 3, and I'm glad that I did. So there's another peek at the yarn and the extras, including the premium member item. Well, y'all, that is a wrap. Thank you for hanging out with me. That is all that I have going on over here right now. I am behind the scenes. I am finishing up my Yarn Club. I have all of the Yarn Club yarn dyed. Most of it is dried, and I'm going to start twisting it up today and tomorrow and getting everything packaged up and ready to ship out next week. I'm also working on some Valentine yarn, and I have some out there that I need to wash today, and then I have a couple of more minis that I need to dye today, and then I should be done dyeing yarn while I'm finishing up Yarn Club for the month. Then I plan on getting to my Sassy Wrap kits. I have been wanting to do Sassy Wrap kits for a while, but it's one of those things that I just have to keep shuffling to the back until I can finally get to it. So I'm letting myself have a little bit of breather and not put so much pressure on myself and getting all of these done, and then I'll start the Sassy Wrap kits. I really wanted to do some Valentine colorways, and if I would have done the Sassy Wrap kits, I would not have been able to do the Valentine colorway. So I moved that up on the priority list. Well, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And if you did, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, happy yarning. Bye.